Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Welcome back to the Big 12 Insiders. Today, we are going to go over my power rankings for Big 12 hoops. A lot of changes from last week, people. A lot of changes. Big 12 is up and moving. Let's just say there's a lot of changes. And there need to be. There need to be. People have struggled. People are ascending. I love this conference, man. I love this conference, and I knew the conference was going to be good. Some of the teams I thought were going to be good aren't, and some of the teams that maybe I didn't know were going to be quite as good are. But that's the thing about the Big 12, and that's why we love it so much. So before we get into all of that, remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to hit the notification bell, and always get in those comments. Let us know exactly what you do like, don't like. That really does help our algorithm. So we appreciate you guys. First things first, let's talk about last night. Houston beats Oklahoma State. Houston getting back on track after that tough loss over the weekend to Texas Tech. They win 72-63. Baylor, they go to Tech. They lose 73-59. I mean, we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but Baylor, I mean, they played 6 guys. I mean, injuries have killed them. But Tech is good. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Tech is really good. I told you they'd be there at the end. We're not quite at the end, but Tech is going to be there, man. They're just good. Arizona, huge win at BYU, 85-74. Arizona took control of that game basically the last 5 minutes. It was back and forth, both teams leading, trying to get away from each other. Neither did, but with about 5 minutes left, Arizona took control of the game and cruised. I guess you could say cruised home. That BYU hit a 3 at the buzzer for the final score. Arizona, really good basketball team. BYU is too, but that's a big win for Arizona on the road because that was a raucous crowd. Great atmosphere for basketball. And then Kansas State going on the road, beating Arizona State. We'll talk about a little bit about that later, but I mean, they were down 15-0, 18-2. They come back. They take a 12-point lead. Arizona State hits back. We'll get into Arizona State's problem, but K-State wins at the end by 1. K-State's winning 4 in a row, man. I mean, they're a different basketball team right now. They went 15 games without being able to win a road game, and then lo and behold, here they are. They've won 2 in a row. I'm not sure Arizona State's that tough a place to play, but they did it. It was a tough place to play against Iowa State. And the power rankings are going to show that for K-State. So without further ado, let's get into the power rankings. Starting at 16's Colorado. No surprise. They haven't won a game. Look, if they don't win at Utah today, I'm not sure. You look at the rest of Colorado's schedule, I'm not sure I see them getting a conference win this year. Their schedule to end the season is tough. But they're not quitting. I mean, the Tad Boyle team's not going to quit. They're just not that talented. I mean, we've talked about it at length. It is what it is at this point. Like I said, there's a couple of chances to win a conference game, but they're still fighting, and I got to commend the guys for that. They're still fighting. At number 15, Cincinnati. Look, I like Wes Miller. I do. Cincinnati fans are frustrated with them, and they should be. They absolutely should be. Cincinnati is underachieving. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're underachieving. They should be better. I keep looking for them to get on a run. I keep thinking, okay, they're too talented to continue to play like this, and it's not coming. At this point, I've turned the other way. I don't think Cincinnati is going to get out of this tailspin that they are in. I just don't. Can they? Yes. But I'm not going to anticipate it. And quite frankly, I'm going to stop talking about it. Because it doesn't make any sense until they show us. You know, our man Chad Brindle said something. He tweeted out something the other day. Basically, in the synopsis of all of it was, there are good guys in the locker room, but just because you're good guys, you have to go out there and play hard through practice, play hard through games, and it doesn't seem that they're doing that. That part of that is coaching. I know we don't want to necessarily blame coaching for guys not playing hard, but it is. Part of it's coaching, part of it's the players. And And unfortunately, it might be a sign that they've quit. I don't want to say that, but when guys aren't practicing hard and they're not playing hard, unfortunately, that's a sign that guys aren't bought in and they're quitting, which is unfortunate. At 14, Arizona State, look, I don't hide this, and I don't think nobody's pushed back on this yet. Bobby Hurley is a disaster. Like, I haven't heard an Arizona State push back, and I've been crushing this man the last couple of weeks, and there hasn't been an Arizona State fan that has stood up for him at all, and there's a reason for that. He's a disaster. Now, it wasn't so much of what he did last night, other than they got up big on Kansas State, and then he allowed his team to shoot themselves out of the basketball game. And I know what you're saying. Well, they only lost by 1. They were up 15-0, 18-2, and they continued shooting threes and missing them and allowed Kansas State not just to catch up, but take a 12-point lead. At some point, you got to tell guys, hey, guys, we got to stop. We got to play inside out, which how they got back into the game, that's what they did. They started driving the ball, and when they started driving the ball, lo and behold, guys were more open shooting threes, and they were able to make a few. But just Bobby Hurley, I'm out. I am out. Arizona State deserves better. I've said it. They deserve better. He's not a good basketball coach. He's just whining and complaining, and I'm over it. I'm over it. And quite frankly, I think Arizona State fans, alumni, players, I think they're all over it too, man. It hasn't worked out. It's been a disaster. Oklahoma State's at number 13. They fought in Houston. They lost. But here's another team that is still fighting. They're a little better than Colorado, and they're still fighting. So I'm going to give Oklahoma State credit for that. Like I said, new coach, they're rebuilding, but they're fighting. I mean, you're not getting beat at Houston by 25 points after Houston's coming off of a tough loss that they feel like they should have won. You would think Houston's got the pedal to the metal, but Oklahoma State, they hung in there. So good for them, man. 12, TCU, they've lost 4 of 6. Just really inconsistent basketball team this year. They don't score it enough. I don't know what else to say about TCU. I think some people thought they'd be better because we like Jamie Dixon, but they're not. They're just not that good of a basketball team, unfortunately. Utah, I think it's starting to come back to reality. I think people got excited. They won a couple of games that maybe some people didn't think. They've lost 3 of 4. They gave a great effort at Oklahoma State last time out, but that was a game that I said at the time, if they're serious about making the tournament, they have to win, and they didn't. I just think it was a good effort by Utah. They come in at number 11. And number 10, UCF. UCF still has a chance. They do. They've lost 4 or 5, which is why you got to be 10 in the power rankings. But other than getting blown out at Iowa State, they have been in every game over the last 5 games. They beat TCU, but they've been in every game. Allen Fieldhouse, they're in that game. I mean, they fought. They just haven't won. They got to get the tide going back the right direction for them to continue to make a push. The latest bracketology, they're on the outside looking in. They're one of the first 4 teams out, but they've got an opportunity. There's some wins out there that they can get that can push them back over. I would love to see the Big 12 get 9 teams in this thing. 9 teams, and then go do some damage. Don't get 9 teams and then 6 of them lose in the first round. I think we got an opportunity to do some damage. UCF might be one of those surprise teams, even if they're the last team in and they got to go to Dayton. Fine, go to Dayton and win at Dayton and then win another game. I would love for UCF to do that. And number 9, West Virginia. West Virginia is getting back, or they got back off the slide. They had lost 3 in a row. They needed that. They went to Cincinnati in a game that I just thought Cincinnati would show up for and win because they're trying to get their season turned around. They did not. Give the credit to West Virginia, still playing without guys, but they're playing hard. The West Virginia's got this, or hopefully they've got it turned around. One game isn't enough to let you know whether they're getting it turned around. We'll see here in the next couple of games how West Virginia goes down the stretch, how things go down the stretch for them. 8, I've got Baylor. Baylor's getting killed by injuries. Kind of what I mentioned about how they lost to Tech last night. I mean, they basically played 6 guys. I mean, they played a 7th guy last night, but he played 3 minutes. I mean, they have got to get healthy. They're talented. They are. And you see what they can do. I mean, you saw what they could do against Kansas, but they got to get healthy. You can't play 6 guys in power 4, power 5, whatever you want to call it. You can't. Not at this level. I don't even think you can do that in Division I basketball. It's not the same as before, maybe 25 years ago, where you could walk it up, 45-second shot clock, pass it around, yada, yada, yada. You can't do that anymore. Too much movement. Offenses are too dynamic. They'll run your guys around. They'll run them ragged. That's happened last night. The game was close, but they got tired. Tech is also really good. And, the game got away from them. It's just as simple as that. But Baylor's got to get healthy, man. They got to get healthy. At number 7, 2 weeks ago, there's not a person on earth that would have thought Kansas State would be number 7 in the Big 12 rankings. Not a person on earth. But you have to put them there. They've won 4 in a row. They're playing good basketball. I don't even think that win at Arizona State, that wasn't their best basketball game. They had been a team that didn't turn it over a lot. They got ahead, and then they allowed Arizona State to get back in. I don't know if they necessarily took their foot off the gas, relaxed a little bit, but they turned it over, took some bad shots, allowed Arizona State to get back in. So that wasn't even K-State's best game, but they were still able to win. They're playing really good basketball. Saturday, Kansas comes to town. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. Can't wait to see that game. Again, 2 weeks ago, you would have said this is going to be a blowout. Well, here we are, or even 3 weeks ago. This is a 25-point Kansas win. Who knows what's going to happen in Manhattan on Saturday? Looking forward to it. Number 6, I got BYU. They had won 4 straight. They won 4 of the last 5. That was a tough loss last night. Tough loss, but Arizona's good. Arizona is a really good basketball team. They fought for a while. They were in it until, like I mentioned, the last 5 minutes of the game, it got away from them. They had their opportunities. The crowd was rocking. Underrated atmosphere at BYU. Underrated. Maybe not to them and maybe to people that don't know. But if you haven't watched a game at BYU, and I think it's the Marriott Center. Excuse me if I'm wrong about that. I apologize. But if you haven't seen a game, even on television, you can get a feel for the atmosphere. They love BYU. They love their team. They play hard, and they root to the last second. I mean, there were fans cheering. They made a 3 with 0 time on the clock to end the game. They were down 14, got a loud ovation. Like, this fan base is insane. I love it. They root for their team. That's what you want, man. They root for their team. But BYU's at 6. At 5, I got Iowa State. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Iowa State. I still think they're a Final Four contender, or they can be. I still think they're going to have something to say about this Big 12 conference at the end, but they're in a bad way right now. Power rankings, obviously, I try to take everything into consideration. The totality of the season, but also I put a little bit more weight on how you're playing right now. And right now, Iowa State's not playing great. They gotten blown out the last 2 times out. They got blown out by Kansas State at home. They got blown out by Kansas. They got to get this thing turned around. They've lost 3 in a row. A team with that much experience and that is that well coached, I would hope that the loss at Arizona that they gave away, let's not kid ourselves, they gave that game away. I would hope that loss hasn't caused them to lose 2 more games. Like, you let the Arizona loss beat you against Kansas State and beat you again at Kansas. I would hope that is not the case. I know they haven't shot the basketball very well, especially from 3-point range. You can't shoot. I mean, what they shoot 14% in Allen Fieldhouse. You're not beating anybody doing that. They got to get things figured out here quickly. I still like them. Don't get me wrong, but as of right now, they're number 5 in the Big 12 power rankings. They have to be. They're not playing very well at all. Number 4, I've got Kansas. Look, they're 3-2 in the last 5 games. I'm still not convinced that they play their best players the most. It is what it is. That'll give them a reprieve because they blew out Iowa State on Monday. Then give them a reprieve. They're saying, hey, this actually works. But Kansas fans, that's who I take a lot of my cues from. When I say something and I don't get the pushback from Kansas fans or just fans in general, I know I'm on to something. And I have been beating this Badunga over KJ Adams thing for a month and a half. And I haven't heard a Kansas fan push back on that yet. Like, Kansas fans aren't saying, well, we just trust Bill Self. He knows what he's doing. Nobody has said that. Now, I'm sure now that I'm saying that, somebody will get in the comments and do that. That's fine. But nobody has said that. You guys get in the comments. You see it. They're not pushing back on that. They're like, man, we got to get Badunga more minutes. We got to get him out there more. And you can say, well, Adams played 32 minutes against Iowa State and they won. Okay, but was that because of him? I mean, Badunga blocked 4 shots in that basketball game in 15 minutes. Come on, man. I get it. I get the loyalty. I still think Bill Self is the best coach in the country. I've said that for a long time. But the loyalty, I just have a sick feeling that the loyalty is going to catch up with them, and we're going to be looking the second weekend of the tournament, and Kansas is not going to be there because of that. They got to flip that around, man. At number 3, maybe controversial. I don't know, but it is what it is. I got Arizona. Arizona, they've won 5 straight, playing good basketball, beating some good teams. Like I said, that's an underrated win around the country last night at BYU. Very underrated. That's a tough place to play, and then BYU's good. They beat Iowa State previously. They beat Arizona State. Arizona State's not good, but Arizona's playing good basketball. I've got them at number 3. There's going to be some Wildcat fans that, come on, Big B, what are you talking about? I mean, look, and I'll just let the cat out of the bag. You can't be ahead of Houston because they lost 1 game in the last 14, okay? You can't be ahead of them. They've lost 1 game in the last 14 games, all right? And even then, that game went to overtime against a team that I have as number 1 in the power rankings. So being number 3 right now is okay. I know you're going to be upset, Wildcat fans, Arizona Wildcat fans, that is, but it's okay. Being number 3 in the power rankings on February 5th is a good thing. It's a good thing. And like I said, I got Houston at number 2 because they've won 14 of 15 games. I mean, come on now. I mean, you can't, 1 loss to a really good basketball team doesn't mean that, oh, the sky is falling, that you have to drop them down to 5 or something like that. No, I'm not going to do that. Not going to do that. Now, if they had lost to Colorado or something like that, yeah, then we could talk about dropping them down 4 or 5 pegs. But when that 1 loss comes to the number 1 team that I have in the power rankings this week for the Big 12, the Texas Tech Red Raiders, I'm not dropping you that far. And yes, Red Raider fans, I do have you at number 1. There's a lot of you that didn't think that I would do it. I have been telling you from the beginning. Now, I don't know why you won't believe me. I've been on the Tech bandwagon all year. I said they got a chip on their shoulder. They don't like how last season ended. They brought in more players, and they've bought into the culture of we're better than what we showed in the NCAA tournament last year. We need to go out there and prove it. I've been saying that. And I don't know, Tech fans don't want – it's almost like that, yeah, you're saying that, but we don't really believe you. Well, what else you want me to do? I can only tell you. I mean, I'm never going to lie. Y'all know me, or if you've been around here long enough, you know I'm only going to tell you my truth. You may not like it. You may not agree with it, but it's going to be my truth. Tech is good. They're really good. I've been saying it. They've won 7 straight. They're playing good basketball. They went to Houston, beat Houston without their best player because he got thrown out in some BS call from an officiating crew, which they need to be reprimanded. I mean, I don't want to see anybody lose their job or anything like that. But by golly, I mean, Lord have mercy. For you to kick a kid out 4 minutes into the game for that, I mean, what's the reprimand? Okay, you can't ref 3 or 4 games. Something has to be done. You can't allow stuff like that to continue to go on, not to mention, look, I could have a podcast separately by itself about how bad officiating has been over the last 5 to 7 years in all of sports. So no need to go down that road. But, man, Tech is good. Trust me, Red Raider fans. I believe in them. I said it. They're going to be there at the end at this conference. I don't see a collapse coming. I don't anticipate them falling off. They may not win the conference because this conference is really good, but I don't see them finishing 8th, in the conference and, oh, man, they lost 5 in a row. They can't get it together. No, not at all. But on February 5th, the Red Raiders are number 1 in Big B's power rankings on Big 12 Insiders. I think it's a good ranking. You guys get in the comments. Let me know where you agree, where you disagree. I appreciate all comments as long as they're respectful. We can argue back and forth, But I appreciate you guys, man. You guys have been really receptive to getting into the basketball of this. I just refuse. And I mean, I just refuse to just make up stuff, clickbait stuff to get you guys to click in and watch. If it doesn't hit the algorithm, it just doesn't hit it, man. It is what it is. I'm going to continue doing the stuff that I actually believe in, because when it does turn and we start getting huge views, you guys are always going to stay, because you know what? Big B's not lying. He's not fake. He's telling the truth. That's what I believe in. That's what I'm going to keep doing. And hopefully you guys keep watching. I appreciate you. Thank you. And we will talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.